It's another day of spring training, and it's another injury for the New York Mets. We are breaking the latest Mets news right here in this video on the True Mets Talk podcast. What is up? I'm your host, CP, and we're talking about Jeff McNeil's latest oblique strain that will land him on the IL to start the season. News just breaking within this past hour, multiple beat reporters breaking the Jeff McNeil news, and we are here to talk about it. Please do smash those thumbs up buttons before we fully get into this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want the latest Mets news and content all 2025 long, this is the place to be. And as always, comment your thoughts and opinions down below because, this is an unfortunate injury. I mean, all injuries are unfortunate, but now this is two starting pitchers and two everyday positional players for the New York Mets that have gone down in spring training and will begin their seasons on the IL. Now, I don't have much context in terms of when this actually happened, whether he was swinging, taking batting practice, whether this was an in-game injury. We don't know that at this time. But what we do know is that Jeff McNeil is going to be shut down for the next 7 to 10 days in spring training. He'll then be reevaluated, and the timetable, the ramping up, the rehab, all the fun stuff that comes with those nagging oblique injuries will effectively keep Jeff McNeil from any in-game action for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And that is more so on the more optimistic side, I would say, with this type of injury. To be specific, it's a right oblique injury. It's a strain, and they have classified it, as you see on your screen, as low grade, which is the good news. Now, speaking of oblique injuries, the Mets did get good news elsewhere with Sean Mcneil. His MRI came back clean and he has resumed throwing. So on the pitching front, that is fantastic news. But of course, we're here talking about Jeff McNeil and who is going to be effectively taking his roster spot come opening day when he starts his season off on the IL. And Carlos Mendoza was quickly asked this question by reporters early this morning as another spring training game is coming up here shortly this afternoon between the Mets and the Red Sox, to which Carlos Mendoza stated Brett Baty, Luisangel Acuna, Luis de los Santos, and Donovan Walton will probably be the front runners in order to replace Jeff McNeil in that roster spot that we will take a look at here in just a second. But I got to think, with all the content that I've been making in spring training, and especially, the video that I posted about a week and a half ago, talking about this epic battle that is commencing between Luisangel Acuna and Brett Baty for the final roster spot. There's now an extra roster spot that is up for grabs with this McNeil injury. And I have to think that I understand that there is a need for veteran presence with the likes of De Los Santos and potentially Donovan Walton. But at this point, knowing the gravity of the situation, given Brett Baty and his, I guess, status in this organization, as well as what Luisangel Acuna provided the New York Mets in a very crucial time last season. And I hate to go back and continuously go back to last season because he's not having a great spring training by and large. But I do have to think that these two names are the front runners here in lieu of this Jeff McNeil injury. Now, again, it's been a tale of two tapes here. Brett Baty is off to a tremendous start in spring training, batting .370 with a couple of home runs. You see the OPS is 1100. And Luisangel Acuna hasn't been doing much with his bat, although we know that he is the versatile defender, second base, shortstop capabilities. There's your backup shortstop that we've been talking about in the event that Francisco Lindor needs a day off, etc., and also has the capability of playing third base just in case Mark Vientos goes over to DH for a game or two in this stretch of the early season as well. So there are, advantages and disadvantages to both guys here, and you can certainly mix and match one veteran and De Los Santos and Donovan Walton with one of these names. But at this point, I am all for having both Brett Baty and Luisangel Acuna on the opening day roster to start things up in 2025 until further notice. And I do think that Luisangel Acuna's bat will take off if he's given the opportunity. Now, what's more interesting as we take a look at the actual roster and the 26-man projection is this: who is going to be the starting second baseman now? not just taking up a bench spot, but who is going to be there in the first inning on the first game, game one in Houston, who's going to be playing second base. Now, Brett Baty has been getting a lot of reps at second base, which is where he has a little bit of an advantage, especially with the bat in spring training of his that's taken off. And at this point, though, honestly, you can go either way. Brett Baty can start there or Luisangel Acuna. I think defensively, you're going to want Luisangel Acuna up the middle with Francisco Lindor in that tandem, especially producing the most double plays as efficiently as possible. But you can have Brett Baty start there. And at that point, I wouldn't be worried about the defense. I would just want to maximize the bottom of the order, whoever gives the Mets the best chance to score the most runs, because now we're talking about a bottom half of the lineup that is missing Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil. So now you're going to have to rely on Luis Torrens and a combination of Acuna and Brett Baty. And it's not out of the question, because we are working here with a righty-lefty combo, that this is going to be a platoon position until Jeff McNeil comes back as well between those two names. And you see here the rest of this screen that we talked about in our post game yesterday. If you missed that between Rob and myself following Mets versus Cardinals, I'll link that in the description down below. We talked about the rotation and the bullpen outlooks with some of these names on your screen, but really the lineup is what we're concerned about here in lieu of this Jeff McNeil injury. The bottom half over the past week with the Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil injuries, it's going to need a lot of production. Somebody's going to have to step up. And I'm not sure who it's going to be. Brett Baty, I think, is definitely a shoo-in at this point with what he's produced so far in spring training. But who's going to be taking up that last roster spot? Luisangel Acuna, Donovan Walton are your infield options, and Luis De Los Santos also is an infield option as well. So let me know in the comments section, Mets fans, what do you think about this McNeil injury, which is so unfortunate because McNeil, we were hoping, was going to have such a bounce back season, right? And he was going to really lengthen and balance out this seemingly top heavy lineup 1 through 5 and provide a little bit more flexibility in the bottom half. And now we don't have Francisco Alvarez or Jeff McNeil in order to do that. And he is going to have to wait to make his debut. And he's going to have to ramp things up and come back stronger than ever, hopefully, as all Mets fans are imagining right now. But let me know who you think is going to win this battle between Baty, Acuna. Do you think it's going to be one of the veteran guys that Carlos Mendoza has also mentioned out of spring training? Make sure to smash those thumbs up buttons. We are going live for the post game following Mets versus Red Sox this afternoon again. So if you enjoy the analysis, if you want to hear more about this injury with multiple different perspectives between Rob and myself, we will be going live. Make sure to tune in. Hopefully, we are not on the channel any longer talking about any more injuries from now until the time that opening day rolls around on March 27th. It's your boy CP. I'm out. Peace.